All right, so if you're watching this video, you'd like to have some sort of all-in-one platform to put together maybe your landing pages, your emails, your membership site, your checkouts, basically a way to generate revenue, attract leads, and get them into your ecosystem. If you're some sort of, let's say in the expert industry, whether a coach, consultant, agency, service provider, I'm going to share with you behind the scenes of my Kartra account. I actually have 2 Kartra accounts, and I've been with Kartra for about 6 years as I put this together. So this is something I have quite a bit of experience with. I've done multiple virtual summits, webinars, lead magnets, workshops, all kinds of digital products that I've sold through Kartra over the years. So I'm going to share with you a little bit behind the scenes to see if Kartra is right for you, or if you're thinking about potentially using your Kartra platform that you have currently. If you have an account with Kartra, hopefully this video is of value to you. And if you do find this video of value, feel free to down below. I have a link. It is in full disclosure an affiliate link. So you would be buying me probably a cup of coffee or 2 if you ended up purchasing Kartra through that link, although I don't believe it costs you any different, and you'd be eligible for whatever discounts they had at the time. So with that, let me go ahead and share my screen. So this is my second Kartra account. So the first one is another one I have. I'm showing you this one just because more recently it had activity. So I figured it'd make more sense to show what could happen. So I just got done with a virtual summit. Virtual summit is my model that I do quite a bit. I used to do about 4 virtual summits a year. Now I do way more than that, both for myself and for clients that I help with. If you want more information on that, subscribe to this channel, and you can learn more about my model for virtual events and virtual summits and webinars. But for this, I'm just going to share with you behind the scenes with Kartra. So when you log in, you see a page that looks kind of like this. So you log in, it shows you over the last 7 days what your sales were, list growth, so day by day. The summits, we stopped basically offering summits access the other day, so that's why it started to taper off. And then I just had over the last couple of days people signing up like for the wait list and whatnot, which I forwarded the page to a wait list. So anyway, not to get too deep in the weeds on that, it also shows you with broadcasts, which in their terminology is an email, basically your one-to-many emails. The last 3 broadcasts show up here. Now there is more where you can go see more of your recent emails, and it does show you that. But this is basically kind of gives you like a behind the scenes recently what's happening. So this also shows, for example, here conversions on your 3 most recently trafficked sites that you have. So for example, here it's showing the number of people that visited, let's say, that landing page and signed up, the number of people that I had a one-time offer page and a thank you. So how many people upgraded from that particular page. And then this one here, I'm not even sure what they were considering goals because it wasn't offering anything there. So anyway, side note, but basically this is kind of giving you a quick view over the last 7 days. I personally like this because I can go in here and I can see like, okay, here's all that is, like, I kind of need to know, like, is my list growing? And what is my revenue? And then like, I'm always curious, like when I send an email out, here it's got like recipients, so that's how many people I sent it to, and then opens, clicks, and then goals. Goals could be sales. Goals could also be like if someone opted in for something, it would show in there too. So you can hover over and it'll show you what goal it was. So that's kind of like my shorthand there describing what product they purchased. And you can kind of see there, it's got a shopping cart on the left-hand side where it's like it's a different icon if they opted in for like a lead magnet. So basically, you can also switch that over to percentages. So if you want to see like the open rate for those particular emails, the click-through rate, and then goals, they don't show as a goal rate, still just the number of goals that you achieved. And then of course, it shows revenue for that particular email. Which is nice. So it's kind of an at the glance. Now, over here on the left-hand side is where you spend most of your time. I they have campaigns, which you can either lump stuff into a campaign. I've not been really good about that. I have a friend of mine, shout out to Jessica Scotton, who, if you want to learn more Kartra stuff, definitely go follow her channel. She knows Kartra in and out. Definitely is an expert on it. She's pushed me to use campaigns more, which I might do just as a way to organize things. And if I want to share the campaigns with others, I can do that. So you can set up your own campaigns where you're basically grouping like pages and other things that other assets that you have, pages, tags, lists, things of that nature. You can put them in here. So I personally, again, I can use them. So like this is one I brought over from my other account. So I used a campaign as a way to, when I first started this second account. And the reason I have two accounts, I should probably explain, is because it's two different businesses. The business I'm showing you now is my own business, whereas the other one is one I have with a business partner. So just to keep everything clean, I separate the two. All right, so basically this is your campaigns, and they also have a marketplace where you can get other campaigns, either that people have made. So there are some that are for purchase, and then there are some that you can get from, say, most popular. Okay, so there are ones you sort by most popular. I was just looking at it a moment ago, and they had ones that, oh, that's newest. Price high, like ones that people put together. Some of these are really good. Now, some are more expensive than others. It's up to you, if those are ones you want to use. I think the Kartra has some really good ones here. Okay, yeah, so if I go to available campaigns, not in the marketplace, but it's the ones that I've deployed from my other accounts are over here. So it's kind of a way to share those assets. But then the ones that Kartra's put together. Now, you can see here like what's included with this. Like they have for all kinds of different businesses, architects, crafts, PDF, calendar. So it depends on what you're looking for. But let's say you could theoretically, even if you like the look of the page they show you, you can always use one and then just change like the name of it. So it doesn't have to be that you're a tax service or an accountant. Maybe just like, oh, there's a webinar for, auto business, or no, that's for accountants, and it's an auto generated webinar. But hopefully you get my point there. So you can at least see what assets they have available, tags, lists, sequences, pages, forms, funnel map. I don't use a lot of this, and if maybe it's because I'm kind of more stuck in my ways that I like to do things a certain way, which Kartra is fairly flexible of letting you at least have your own system for how you name things and naming conventions and all that fun stuff. I've done so many virtual summits in Kartra, which I think Kartra is great for that business model and a lot of other business models too. Now, with these, I would suggest renaming them or remapping them. And that's one of the reasons why I don't use a lot of their campaigns that they set up, is because I'd have to like redo lists and move stuff around. And I'd rather just start from scratch. And they still have, like, you can create pages, and the pages, they have templates for pages. They have templates for sections on pages. They have templates for certain components that you might add to a page, like a countdown timer, stuff like that. So it's very user-friendly. So I'd rather just create my own thing, but for some people, they like having those campaigns, which is why I share that. So then you have your pages, and basically, so for example, here, I'm going to be working on this one probably as soon as I'm done with this. So this was a masterclass I put together, and this is the sign up page for it. So I'm going to do another masterclass for this, and then I'm going to actually just tweak the copy and whatnot to update it for my new masterclass and the date and time and all that. So you can reuse pages, or sometimes I clone pages, which is nice too. And then the page builder, for the most part, I find the page builder to be pretty intuitive. It definitely, one thing that I learned from a friend of mine when I was first shopping for Kartra versus others is he's like, there is no perfect system for like all these all-in-one platforms, whether it's ClickFunnels, Kajabi, whatever. You're going to be told on the front end, everything is so wonderful, everything is so great about it, but then you're going to find quirks that you don't like. And it's like that with everyone. So, I have experience using ClickFunnels. I have experience using Kajabi, using ActiveCampaign, using some that maybe have some of the all-in-one things that Kartra has, and some that maybe have components of it. But I find Kartra works very well, and the shopping cart and funnel experience, I think, is very good. So here's an example of a page I built in Kartra. This is for a summit that I have coming up, not the same one, because this is the one of the other business, but this is one that's coming up that I'm working with this person here to put this on. And so we put together one that's very similar to a lot of the other summits that I've run, but basically people can sign up for $9, and then it takes them to a page where they put in their information. It's called two-step checkout. So basically they put in their contact information, which you don't have to ask for city and zip code and all that, but I do. So actually, I think you might have to ask for at least, this might be minimum information since it's for payment. But you can also ask for street address and phone number and a lot of other things. But I tend to like to have less friction, so I don't always add those things. So this is step one, and then once they enter that information, they go to the next page where they can put in their payment. And then on the payment screen, you can have what's called an order bump, where they're buying another digital product or something along those lines. So Kartra works well for that. And then on the thank you page, you can have where they just click a button and it adds, like, let's say you have a one-time offer, an upsell available on there. So Kartra works well for that. This is an example of a page similar to what I was describing, where it would basically, they click a button and then they can just add it to the cart, so to speak. And so on the back end, like, they would get another transaction. So in my description of, if they bought, let's say, the $9 product that I was showing you the checkout for, and then the order bump, and then let's say they click on a button like this to add to their cart, that's actually going to end up being 3 different transactions, just to note. It has to do with like how, I don't know if it's Stripe or something, but this integrates with Stripe is something I probably should have said as well. So kind of moving along into what else Kartra can do. The page builder is pretty intuitive. In fact, showing you the masterclass that I was working on. Page builder looks like this. You can move stuff around. For example, if I want to move this over here, which I don't really like what I would put it there, but it takes a little getting used to. But all of them, I feel like the drag and drop, like, they always make it seem like everything's so easy with these drag and drops, but like, it takes getting used to. So that's the big deal, is those drag and drops can take some time. The countdown timer is nice, because then at the end, if you're trying to tell people like, hey, you have to sign up by X time, you can forward it to another page, which might be like a wait list of some sort. Like, hey, this event has already happened, but we have other things in the future. Click here to, or it basically would take them to a page that looks similar to this, but they can go to a wait list. All right, so moving on, just for the sake of time, membership sites. They have membership sites here. So the membership site is how people access, like, if you have something that you want people to have to log in to see your digital product. That's how I do the virtual summits, is they log in. And do I have an example of one here? Oh, yes. So this is what the membership site looks like, which you can update the colors, and I think you can update like where stuff shows. I just tend to like this format where the main menu here is on the left. So if they wanted to go to specific content, they could go over here. And then the videos, you can embed YouTube videos. And this is the same thing with whether it's membership sites, pages, or whatever. You can embed videos. And then Kartra also can host your videos. I personally prefer to put most of my videos in Vimeo, which there is a little bit of an extra charge to use Vimeo, but I like it because I have more control over it, whereas YouTube is free, but YouTube, they really want them to click on it, whereas I can set it up so that there is no going anywhere else off here. Like it's not taking them to Vimeo, whereas YouTube will, people kind of know like, okay, it's just an unlisted video that they can go and they can figure it out. And then, they now have access to it. Whereas Vimeo, you can lock down more. Kartra, you can upload it into Kartra. Kartra, I think, is giving you more access to be able to have more bandwidth than they used to. They used to limit some of the bandwidth on video. But I do think the player and the control you have and the analytics is better on Vimeo. I like Kartra video if it's a very specific, let's say like a sales video, whether again it's in a membership site or it's in a page. I can tag people based on they started the video, they got halfway through the video, stuff like that. That's where I think it shines. So that's where I would use Kartra's video platform. But generally, I like to put things in Vimeo. And then also too, if I was to ever decide, which I don't see anytime soon, but if I ever decided I want to go off Kartra, everything's also hosted video wise in Vimeo. So my personal opinion, which you don't necessarily have to do it that way. And it's part of it just because I do so much video. Like for example, this summit has over 20 videos attached to it. All right, so next up, let's share down this. Contacts, basically, I won't click on contacts because I don't want to have to blur out like the actual names and email addresses of people in my contact list just for their privacy. Forms is where you add basically like, for like, this is the opt-in form for I called it the Scale Your Agency Summit. So this is the form. So basically the form you can put on a page, and then the form will go to like a thank you page once they submit. So that's how you get people onto your list. And then the list is basically a way to add people they're in a specific spot. I could probably do a little bit better with the list management, but you really want to get people onto a list, but you don't want to have too many lists, in my opinion. You want to have basically a main list and then maybe some sub lists that are, for example, like I put speakers of my summits on a particular other list. So I don't consider them to be customers. Or I had a summit that was completely different niche. I put them into another list. And so depending on how people sign up, but you're better off using tags, which is under contacts. So you can use tags and you can categorize the tags, which is one of the nice features. Surveys, you can have people fill out surveys. I don't do a ton with it. Oftentimes I'll send out a survey. I don't get a lot of people filling them out, but it is something available. Imports, basically you can have, like, let's say, what you'd want to do is like if you're bringing over, let's say, contacts from another list. So let's say you used ActiveCampaign and you want to take that list and you want to import it. One thing just to note about Kartra is they approve all of their lists or all of the imports. I have found it's pretty easy. Like if I just want to like upload a list and say I want to add this tag to everyone on this upload, that gets approved like pretty much instantly, I have found. But just note, just word to the wise, like it can be frustrating sometimes. You feel like you have a list, but it may not meet the exact requirements of what they want you to have on the list. It's very much people have to have opted in on your platform, and it has to be a warm opt-in. So you can't take, like, if you purchase a list or if you're engaging in some sort of list share activities, like maybe you're on a webinar, I wouldn't add it into Kartra. They might ban your ability to use email. Now you might look at that as like, well, some people might look at it as, oh, that's no big deal. Some people might look at that as that's frustrating. But think of it this way: Kartra has very good deliverability, I have found. So you're sacrificing a little bit of maybe what emails you can add into Kartra, but you have better deliverability. And so if you do any sort of, I don't even want to call it gray hat, but um, if you're having any sort of trouble adding emails on and getting them approved, one, just make sure that you're outlining it well. And I one time had, I'll give you an example. We had in my other company that I have a business partner, he had acquired it. And so when I did summits from that point forward, we would give access to his employees. So I would take an employee list and I would update it, and that got pushed back. Now, eventually I won that one, so to speak, but they pushed back because it wasn't in like a MailChimp or ActiveCampaign or something like that. And so they were like, well, these people didn't opt in for marketing. I'm like, they're employees. We're trying to give them access to a to the membership site. In order to do that, I have to add them into my contact list. And so they eventually understood what I was saying, but I had to like give evidence, like, you know, here's a public video about the acquisition, and you can see everybody has the same domain and their email address, which matches the name of the company that acquired us. And so then they got it. So, but just know, if you're used to having some systems where you just kind of just import stuff and it's just there, and if you screw up, they'll slap your hand, that's not Kartra. But that, again, that can be a good thing because it protects everyone's deliverability. I just want to point that out. Some people might be saying this is kind of a weird soapbox you're on. I just want to at least explain that to folks, because I've had complaints with it sometimes where I'm like, what I'm doing is completely legitimate, and then other people who maybe they've kind of gone outside of what Kartra might consider. Like maybe it's in the terms and conditions and people are clicking a checkbox that they're going to get their email shared from, you know, being on like a webinar panel or something like that, and everybody's sharing the list of attendees who registered. You will have trouble getting that into Kartra. Just word to the wise. Sales, you can have your products here. So basically like different products that you're selling. Affiliates, I don't use this affiliate tracking system, even though I have it. You have to be on one of the higher tier plans, which this account is on. Self-billing, this is kind of a weird one, just to note. So if you use Kartra, and like, for example, I have in the other business, I have people on a membership. And so basically those people are being charged on an ongoing basis. And sometimes they need to update their credit card, so I can give them the self-billing. Now, the one thing to note, which is kind of quirky, is they put in their email, which sure, that makes sense. But then the order, they put in an order ID, and the order IDs sometimes are just weird. And so like they would have to have like an order ID from like a purchase in the past. And sometimes that's not intuitive for people to find. And so if anyone from Kartra is watching, maybe it would be nice that like if people have access to a membership area, maybe just have the billing portal attached to the membership area. They're already logged in with their credentials. Maybe they use that, then have to have their email address and an order ID, which is just kind of quirky. All right, so next up, we will go back to, here, sales tax. I don't use sales tax, but e-commerce, you could have sales tax settings, or if you're in an area where digital products have to have sales tax, you can have them there. Payments, you can see all the payments. I actually take all of these payments, and I have an automation that I've created that puts them all into Airtable, and I do a bunch of other stuff with it. And that's actually how I use affiliates through that system. So I use Kartra is great for a lot of things, but you may get to a point, which not initially when you first start it, but you might get to a point where like you kind of got to build things outside of it. But you could be on HubSpot, or you could be on anything else. And almost everyone I know who becomes like a power user in whatever system they use ends up having to build automations outside of that system because it never quite does everything they want it to do. So marketing, this is where you send out your emails and SMS. So this is like your emails that you send out to people, like your broadcasts emails. I suggest having a naming convention of like the date. I always start with the year, because if you just call the email something else and you're trying to remember, like, okay, when I had that like webinar or that campaign that I ran, or this promotion, I think it was last February or something like that. Like, what did I call that email? Start with a good naming convention. And the one quirk I will say, and this is a quirk that if anyone from Kartra is watching, please fix this. You can only put 40 characters for the name of a message. This is a completely internal thing. Other people don't see it. Why 40 characters? I don't know. It just feels arbitrary. And sometimes I want to be a little bit more descriptive and I have to start using like abbreviations. Like here, I ran out of, I was trying to say that, like, I wanted to put her last name and have a space between the name of her company and live, but I ran out of characters. So just one little quirk. Sequences, this is where you put your basically like confirmation sequence. So basically this is an action, not you're just sending one broadcast email one to many. This is more like somebody signs up for an event or a webinar or your lead magnet or something. And so there's some sort of trigger, and then you send, let's say, a message. So like this was like example of like the confirmation message for people that signed up for this particular virtual summit. And then you can have it wait, and then maybe send another message. And there's a lot of other actions you can do, which this is pretty powerful stuff. Like in fact, you can see here, you can have some automations, like maybe it gives them access to something or adds them to another automation. So this stuff is pretty cool here. I do like those. And then basically come down here, automations. This one's kind of quirky, I will say. So I don't really use this screen ever, but like, for example, like when you set up like a page, or you set up, I think you do the automations in pages, like somebody visits, it tags them. But like, for example, if in an email, you can have anyone who clicks a particular link get a tag, or you can have certain actions trigger something else to happen. And so you can do those in automations. And then also, like, for example, if someone purchases a certain product, they can do that. So in products, you can do that. In automations, you can do that. Or you can create the automations. But they all kind of live in this screen, and it's almost impossible to see, like, okay, like what email, like I know by looking at this was from an email. People, click this link and for a particular email, but I can't label it, and it doesn't be descriptive. So if anybody here from Kartra is watching this, so the reason I share this is I want to share with you the good and the bad, the things I think are good about Kartra, as well as the quirks that I have found. So hopefully this comes across a little bit more trustworthy and not just like just a commercial for, oh, Kartra, this is great. It's great. Personally, I love Kartra. I've been using it for 6 years and have 2 businesses on it. So it definitely is worthwhile to have. Funnels, I've never really gotten into all that much. You can create like certain actions. If I have this amount of traffic and it converts, I tend to find a lot of that is very theoretical. Maybe if you have the same funnel and you're just sending different types of traffic to it, maybe this is good to use. I've never really gotten into it. Tracking links, I use quite a bit. This is actually how I, how I track affiliates. And so I tag that people get, that they purchase through a particular affiliate. So like, for example, and it makes more sense if I show the most recent summit. So like this, You can see like different speakers had, certain amounts of traffic they sent, and then, how many people, signed up through theirs. So anyway, and then events, this is calendars. I've not used their calendar system. It connects to Gmail. I'm getting more into the Google Workspace ecosystem. Whereas when I first started this, I was much more a Microsoft Outlook guy, and it does not connect to Outlook unless they recently did that. And so anytime I've had calendars on pages, I either just have a button that links to, I use Book Like a Boss, which most people have probably never heard of. It's similar to Calendly, but you can embed code from, let's say, Book Like a Boss or Calendly or Acuity or whatever you use. You can link those on a page. And so that can be in lieu of using a calendar. Whereas the Kartra calendar, I'm sure it's great. Some people use it. It's not one that I personally use. Another one I do like is webinars. So like, for example, the webinar, for example, I don't use webinars exactly the way they want you to. I basically have people sign up on a form, and then I use an automation on that form to then register them for the webinar, as opposed to another way they use it. So I've only, on this account, a lot of these are just test webinars. I've not used their webinar platform a lot, but I plan to use it a lot more going into the future, because it is good. I like the system. I like that, people can ask questions, they can interact. You're broadcasting live. The nice thing about a webinar is, well, for one, I never actually call it a webinar. I always call it a masterclass. But you're getting people into a private room, so it feels like more of a private setting. So they sign up, they're more engaged in it. And then, so basically they're having to raise their hand, and it's another micro commitment that they actually show up and go to it. And then I think you can get a certain number of people on the plan you're on. And then help desks, like, I don't use it a lot. I've used it on some of the stuff I do. I'll move myself over here so I can show the other stuff. But basically, Media Center, this is like where you can upload videos, but also have like images and things like that. Kartra did a very good job. This is a kudos to Kartra. It used to be video library, sorry, not video libraries. Actually, video might have been this way too, but definitely image libraries for like, we're in different places and didn't always talk to each other. About a year or so ago, they fixed that. And so it's much more seamless. So if anyone from Kartra here is watching this, kudos on that one. And then you have your settings and the resource setting center, which is good. I used it a lot when I first learned the system. Definitely check out their resource center. And then a couple things to note. There's different plans they have. So if you're considering getting it, I'm on the growth plan for for the one I just showed you that I was going through is on the growth plan. You need it for webinars, but you might not necessarily need to do webinars. But like, for example, the difference in price is about the difference in price. Like if you got, like, let's say Zoom webinar is almost the same as the difference in price between starter and growth. Now, some people might be watching this and saying, well, should I just start off in the essentials? Maybe this is the way to start out. So if you have less than 500 contacts and you're not going to send, so if you have 500 contacts, let's see, if you do the math, that's 20 emails per contact per month. So basically, if you have 500 contacts and you email them basically Monday through Friday, 4 weeks a month. So basically Monday through Friday, 500 contacts or less, you should be okay with that. This is the one that really would get you. So if you do the math, the difference in price between this tier and this tier is $60. And so if you did the math, 5% transaction fees, if you're going to do more than $1,200 a month in sales on Kartra, it is worth it to upgrade to starter, because otherwise you're just paying them extra in transaction fees that you don't need to. And then you start getting, a higher tier with more bells and whistles and whatnot. And so, for example, like if you run a virtual summit like I do, I don't know if I've ever run a virtual summit that didn't make at least $1,200. So it would be worth your while to have the higher tier plan in most cases. Now, it might be you just want to get in there and start testing things out, test out the landing pages. You just need one custom domain. You just need one membership site. Great. So then you could do all that with this. And then I believe my other plan is actually on the professional plan, although I don't pay that amount. I'm on the annual plan for that. And I think it's because I've been on so long that when they switched over their billing, they just moved me, I think, to the professional plan. I can't say that for sure, but I think I was on the growth plan for that one. And they just randomly emailed me it's professional, because it used to be like silver, bronze, silver, gold, platinum, or whatever. It was how they had their tiers, and they changed it up. There's a little bit of savings for yearly. I wouldn't suggest going to yearly right away. My other business is on the yearly plan, whereas this business I have now is on the starter plan. Sorry, it's on the growth plan, but it's on the monthly plan. So it might be worth it to me if I do the math. Maybe I do want to switch over to annual at some point, but it is a cash flow thing. So all of a sudden you're saving a little bit, but you're putting a lot out for the year. So, and it is a commitment. So now you're committed to that plan. So again, Kartra is a great system. I find it to be helpful. One of the things to keep in mind is it doesn't matter what system you use. It's not the Field of Dreams. If you remember that movie with Kevin Costner in the 80s, where he was playing baseball in Iowa, I think it was, in the cornfields. If you build it, they will come. Any sort of website, you have to send traffic to it. So that traffic can come from a variety of different places. Maybe you're excellent at paid ads, and that's how you get traffic, or you have an existing email list, and this is a way to send traffic. Or virtual summits. I'm a very much a proponent of, because you can get a lot of people to, basically people have influence in your niche to share your summit with their audiences, and that gets you traffic, gets people on your list, and gets people to engage with you and buy your products. So with that, hopefully this video was helpful. Again, if you're interested in checking out Kartra, I do have a link down below which you can use. It is an affiliate link in totally full disclosure. So I would potentially get some sort of compensation if you did end up purchasing through my link. I don't believe there's any difference in price with going through my link versus not. I have no control over that, but I'm almost positive there's no difference in price. And definitely shop around. And if this video was helpful for you, leave a comment down below. Let me know what was insightful. If you have questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. As someone who's generated hundreds of thousands of dollars on Kartra over the years, and has thousands of people that I've gotten on multiple lists over the years. And overall, I like the system. It has its quirks. All systems have their quirks, especially when they're kind of these Swiss Army knives that do a little bit of everything. They may lose functionality with one thing that you're using for versus something else. But ultimately, the decision is yours, and hopefully this at least helped you make a decision on whether or not to use Kartra. And take care.